The Senate will come to order. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a call of the Senate.
A call of the Senate has been moved and properly sustained. Will the sergeants please close the doors, allow no senators to leave, and retrieve all the senators who are missing back to the chambers?
What's wrong?
Owen went to a birthday party in Colorado Springs and he's driving north, and I think we're telling him
Just to go home. Just excuse him.
chill.
Yeah. He's already excused, right?
Mr. Carpenter, please call the roll.
Senators Bridges, Cook, Corum, Court, Crowder, Danielson, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Foote, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Heisey, Holbert, Lee, Lundeen, Marble, Moreno, Pedersen, Priola, Rankin, Rodriguez, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Story, Tate, Todd, Williams, Winter, Woodward, Zinzinger, Bridges, Priola. Mr. President.
Here. With 34 present, 0 absent, 1 excused, we have a quorum. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the call be raised.
The motion is to raise the call. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the call is raised. Committee reports.
April 24th, 2019, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, Mayor's conducts following House Bill 1255 be referred to Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. April 24th, 2019, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, Mayor's Committee conducts following House Bill 1228 be referred to Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. April 24th, 2019, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, Mayor's conducts following House Bill 1174 be amended as follows. As so amended, be referred to Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. April 24th, 2019, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, Mayor's Committee conducts following House Bill 1088 be referred to Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. Recommendation placed on the consent calendar. April 24th, 2019, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, Mayor's Committee conducts following House Bill 1013 be referred to Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. April 24th, 2019, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology has had in consideration hearing the following appointment recommends employment be placed on the consent calendar. Confirm members of the State Plumbing Board for term expiring July 1st, 2022. John D. Crackover, Arvada, Colorado. A person engaged in the construction of residential or commercial buildings as a plumbing contractor, reappointed. April 24, 2019, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration, Mayor's Committee following Senate Bill 249 be amended as follows. As so amended, for Committee on Appropriations with a favorable recommendation. April 24, 2019, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration, Mayor's Committee following House Bill 1298 be referred to Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. April 24, 2019, Committee on Judiciary has had in consideration had a hearing on the following appointments. Recommends appointments to be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Juvenile Parole Board for terms expiring November 15th, 2021. Kim Brenham of Thornton, Colorado, to serve as representative of Colorado Department of Public Safety. Appointed James A. Newby, MALP, CCWDP of Aurora, Colorado, to serve as representative from the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. Appointed for terms expiring November 15th, 2022. Rachel Victoria Levendahl, Westminster, Colorado, to serve as representative of the Colorado Department of Education. Reappointed Michael Anthony Rodriguez of Aurora, Colorado, to serve as a public member not employed by state government. Appointed April 24th, 2019, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration, Mayor's Committee following House Bill 1289 be amended as follows as so amended for committee of the whole. The favorable recommendation, April 24, 2019, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. Senate Bill 259 be amended as follows as so amended for committee of the whole. The favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. April 24, 2019, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1311 be referred to committee of the whole. The favorable recommendation, April 24, 2019, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1315 be amended as follows as so amended for committee of the whole. The favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1316 be referred favorably Committee on Appropriations. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1306 be referred to committee of the whole. The favorable recommendation. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1193 be referred favorably Committee on Appropriations. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1284 be referred to the committee to hold the favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1305 be referred to committee to hold the favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1321 be referred to committee to hold the favorable recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1295 be referred to committee to hold the favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1299 be referred to committee to hold the favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1292 be referred to committee to the Committee on Appropriations. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1277 be referred favorably Committee on Appropriations. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the mayor's committee as following. House Bill 1002 be amended as follows as so amended be referred to Committee on Appropriations with a favorable recommendation. April 24, 2019, the Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of hearing on following appointments to be placed on the consent calendar to confirm members of the Colorado Civil Rights Commission for terms expiring March 13, 2023. Richard Lee Lewis Jr. of Aurora, Colorado, serves as a majority business owner with employees numbering more than 50 and is Democrat appointed. Sergio Rodel Cordova of Littleton, Colorado, to serve as representative of an employee association represents workers in Colorado as a Democrat appointed. April 24, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration and had a hearing on the following appointments to be confirmed. Members of the State Board of Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund for terms expiring April 15, 2023. Leticia Martinez of Denver, Colorado, an affiliated resident of the 1st Congressional District appointed. John Monpar of Breckenridge, Colorado, an affiliated resident of the 2nd Congressional District and West of the Continental Divide appointed. David Cockrell of Pueblo, Colorado, an affiliated resident of the 3rd Congressional District appointed. Pamela Dene of Lunta, Colorado, Republican and resident of the 4th Congressional District appointed. Minna Liebert of Colorado Springs, Colorado, an affiliated resident of the 5th Congressional District appointed. Morris J. Siegel of Boulder, Colorado, a Democrat resident of the 2nd Congressional District appointed. Jahisim Bai of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, an affiliated resident of the 7th Congressional District appointed.
Have a list. Do we have a list yet?
Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 260 by Senators Zenzinger and Cook and Representative Tipper and Larson concerning entry into Fire and Police Pension Association for Social Security employers.
Finance.
House Bill 1159 by Representative Hawkins, Lewis, and Gray and Senator Danielson concerning modifications to the income tax credits for innovative motor vehicles.
Finance.
House Bill 1264 by Representative Roberts and Wilson and Senators Winter and Donovan concerning programmatic efficiency of the conservation easement tax credit program in connection therewith, increasing the transparency of the program, making an appropriation.
Finance.
House Bill 1282 by Representative Singer, Michaelson, Janae, Senator Smallwood, and Donovan concerning administration of the court-appointed special advocate program.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1327 by Representatives Garnett and Neville and Senators Donovan and Cook concerning sports betting and in connection therewith submitting the registered electors of the state of Colorado a ballot measure authorizing the collection of a tax on the net proceeds of sports betting through licensed casinos, directing the revenues generated through the collection of the sports betting tax to specified public purposes, including the state water plan through creation of the water
Finance.
plan implementation cash fund and making an appropriation.
Finance. General order, second reading of bills. Senator Moreno.
Not yet. We're gonna you say my name? No.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order to take up a special orders second reading of bills consent calendar.
At the hour of.
We're just proceeding out of order.
The motion is that the Senate take up, proceed out of order to take up a special orders reading calendar. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed. That motion is adopted. The Senate will stand in brief recess. Senate will come back to order. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up Senate Bills 256, 254, 253, 252, 251, 248, House Bill 1285, Senate Bill 258, House Bill 1122, House Bill 1006, House Bill 1269, House Bill 1294, and House Bills 1133 and 1088 on special orders second reading of bills consent calendar at the hour of 10:14 p.m.
You have heard the motion. The motion is to take up those bills listed on the special orders consent calendar at the hour of 22:14. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Members, since there is no objection, those bills listed that were said will be taken up, and no special calendar will be distributed. Special orders consent. Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders consent.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will re-resolve itself to the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Moreno will take the chair.
Here. Pete. I'm ready. He's on Facebook. We're ready.
The committee will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, will you please read the titles to all the bills on the special order second reading of bills consent calendar?
Senate Bill 256 by Senator Bridges concerning an appropriation made to implement House Bill 181299 concerning electronic documents related to ownership of vehicles. Senate Bill 254 by Senator Zinzing and Representative Ransom concerning the nursing home penalty cash fund in connection with making an appropriation. Senate Bill 253 by Senator Rankin, Representative Escar, and Ransom concerning specifying the Department of Education is not a state agency for purposes of the Office of Information Technology. Senate Bill 252 by Senator Moreno and Representatives Escar and Hansen concerning the timing of joint committee reference hearings under the State Measurement for Accountable, Responsive, and Transparent Smart Government Act. Senate Bill 281 by Senators Rankin and Todd and Representative Hansen and Titone concerning the implementation of certain recommendations from the independent evaluation of the state's information technology resource in connection with making an appropriation. Senate Bill 248 by Senators State and Bridges and Representative Singer and Basley concerning a requirement that the Director of Research of the Legislative Council convene a working group to conduct analysis of the state tax system used by the Department of Revenue. House Bill 1285 by Representative Lontin and Senator Fields concerning the requirement for the Department of Healthcare Policy and Finance to contract with the Managed Care Organization operated by Denver Health and Hospital Authority until the Managed Care Organization ceases to operate a Medicaid Managed Care Program. Senate Bill 258 by Senator Rankin and Representative Escar concerning child welfare services funded through federal child welfare laws and in connection with making and reducing an appropriation. House Bill 1122 by Representatives Buckner, Landgraf, Senator Fields, and Gardner concerning the creation of a maternal mortality review committee in the Department of Public Health and Environment in connection with making an appropriation. House Bill 1006 by Representatives McLaughlin and Carver and Senator Fields concerning measures to mitigate the effects of wildfires within wildland urban interface areas in connection therewith, clarifying the legislative intent that state funding of the existing forest restoration wildfire risk mitigation grant program be increased and making an appropriation. House Bill 1269 by Representatives Cutter and Sullivan and Senators Janal and Gardner concerning measures to improve behavioral health care coverage practices and in connection therewith making an appropriation. House Bill 1294, Representatives Benavidez and Hakazulis and Senator Story concerning a requirement that the Chief Administrative Officer of the Colorado Community College System create a working group to determine the best manner in which to facilitate the transfer of earned construction industry registered apprenticeship program credit to college credit in connection therewith making an appropriation. House Bill 1133 by Representatives Caravello and Pelton and Senator Fields concerning the creation of Colorado Child Abuse Response and Evaluation Network and in connection with making an appropriation. House Bill 1088 by Representative Buck and Beltesty and Senator Donovan concerning the modifications to the existing income tax credit for healthcare preceptors working in healthcare professional shortage areas in connection therewith, clarifying the definition of preceptorship and extending the existing sunset date for the tax credit.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the adoption of all the bills on the consent calendar and their associated committee reports, which include Senate Bill 256, Senate Bill 254, Senate Bill 253, Senate Bill 252, along with the Appropriations Committee report, Senate Bill 251 with the Appropriations Committee report, Senate Bill 248 and its Appropriations Committee report, House Bill 1285, Senate Bill 258 and its Appropriations Committee report, House Bill 1122, House Bill 1006, House Bill 1269 with its Appropriations Committee report, House Bill 1294, House Bill 1133, and House Bill 1088.
Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the committee reports on the special order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the special order second reading of bills consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the special orders second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The bills are adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Carpenter, will you please read the report?
Mr. President, committee hold legislative reports that are consideration of the following test bills being second reading, therefore makes following recommendation on Senate Bill 256, Senate Bill 254, Senate Bill 253, Senate Bill 252 as amended, Senate Bill 251 as amended, Senate Bill 248 as amended, Senate Bill 258 as amended, passed second reading order, gross place calendar for the reading and final passage, House Bill 1285, House Bill 1122, House Bill 1006, House Bill 1269 as amended, House Bill 1294, House Bill 1133, House Bill 1088, passed second reading order, revised place calendar for the reading and final passage.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is for the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 256, Senate Bill 254, Senate Bill 253, Senate Bill 252 as amended, Senate Bill 251 as amended, Senate Bill 248 as amended, Senate Bill 258 as amended, passed on second reading, order engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage, House Bill 1285, House Bill 1122, House Bill 1006, House Bill 1269 as amended, House Bill 1294, House Bill 1133, House Bill 1088, passed on second reading, order revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order to take up general order, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order to take up general order, second reading of bills. General order, second reading of bills. Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general order, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself to general order, second reading of bills, and Senator Moreno will take the chair.
Just lay over a bill.
The committee will come to order. The court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1210 lay over to the bottom of the general order, second reading of bills calendar.
The motion is for House Bill 1210 to be laid over to the end of the second reading of bills calendar. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1210 will be laid over to the end of the calendar. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 188.
Senate Bill 188 by Senators Winter and Williams and Representative Gray and Duran concerning the creation of a family medical leave insurance program.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move Senate Bill 19188, the Business, Labor, Technology Committee report, the Finance report, and the Appropriation report.
To the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, we made some amendments to in the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee, those being accommodating flight attendants, Department of Revenue, premium caps, drafting errors, first step administrative processes, and wage-based amendments. And we ask you for an aye vote on the Business, Labor, Technology Committee report.
Is there further discussion on the BLT Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Committee report is adopted. To the Finance Committee report, Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, coming out of the Senate Finance Committee, we made some changes to the legislative declaration. We made some amendments on the wage-based amendment on the seasonal workers, the private plans, the local government opt-out, reimbursement for generous employers, family definition amendment, the actuarial analysis, the third-party administrator amendment, family medical leave insurance board members, the coordination of the program with the workers' comp, administrative processes, timelines, discounts and premiums, week reductions, employee fraud amendment, and the railroad worker amendment. We ask you for an aye vote on the Finance Committee report.
Is there further discussion on the Finance Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Finance Committee report is adopted. To the Appropriations Committee report, Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, we had the appropriation amendment came out at $55,552 was added to the bill, and we ask you for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Carpenter, will you please read Amendment L-130?
Amendment L-130, Senate Bill 188 by Senator Williams and Winter. Strike the Appropriations Committee report dated April 16, 2019. Strike the Finance Committee report dated April 19.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L130.
To Amendment L-130, Senator Williams. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we start talking on the amendment, we would like to make some comments about the Family Medical Leave and Insurance bill itself, with your permission.
By all means, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 88% of workers in the state have no paid family medical leave. And that's just a statistic, and it doesn't mean a lot. And so I want to share what that actually looks like in a daily life. So there's Jen, and Jen had twins, and they were in the NICU. And as she sat in the NICU, she watched other children in the NICU, and their parents didn't have paid family leave. And she watched those children sitting in incubators, not having care. And as she watched those children, and she could care for her children, she realized her children were doing better. And we know that when children have someone with paid family leave, they're in the hospital for a shorter amount of time. And that's when Jen decided she was an advocate for paid family leave. And she told her story, and yet we heard, we're worried it's not solvent. And so we went to the University of Denver, and we went to the Women's Law Center, and we went to the University of Massachusetts to show it was solvent, and it wasn't enough. And then we met Chris, and Chris had to take her father off of life support from her break room. She couldn't go and hold her father's hand as he passed away because she couldn't leave her job. And we said, Chris, we're going to figure out a way for paid family leave. And yet people said, well, we don't know how this interacts with the benefits we already have. And so we ran some amendments. And then we talked to Mary, and Mary's one of my constituents. And Mary was losing her parents and lost her house. And she lost her job and ended up in a homeless shelter. And Mary said, if my parents held my hands as I entered the world, I want to hold their hands as they leave the world. And we told Mary we'd fight for paid family leave for her as well. And yet, people said the usage rate might be too high. It's estimated 3.5%, but oh my goodness, what if it goes to 7%? And we told Mary, don't worry, we're going to keep working for you. And then we talked to Deborah, and Deborah had cancer. And she worked where she would drive people to the airport and load their luggage onto vans. She had no paid family leave, and she skipped her second round of chemotherapy. And when she should have been fighting for her life, she was fighting for her paycheck. And we said, Deborah, don't worry. We are going to fight for you for paid family leave. And people said, well, we just don't believe it. We know that 3 universities have studied this. And nonprofits have studied this. And we've worked on this for 5 years, but we just don't believe the numbers. And there's a study out there. And we just don't believe it. And we said, we're going to keep working. And today, with Amendment 130, We are telling Jen, we are telling Deborah, we're telling Mary that we're not giving up. We wanted 2 steps forward. We wanted to deliver paid family leave to Colorado. We know it's what workers are asking for. We know it's popular. We've actually talked to businesses all over the state that know it's popular. But this year, what we can say is we're setting up an implementation plan. And that's what Amendment 130 is. Saying, okay, we knew all these people wanted help. We knew all these people were losing their homes and sometimes their lives, and their children were staying in hospitals longer, but we couldn't agree on the math. So we're saying, okay, we don't agree on the math. Let's do the math first. And that's what Amendment 130 does. It says, let's do the actuarial study from a government organization. Let's do a third-party study. Let's set up a staffing plan. Let's create an oversight committee that includes both workers and businesses. Let's look at the usage rates. Let's come back next year and say, we are going to move this forward because we're all going to work with the same numbers and actually deliver to the people of Colorado. And that's what Amendment 130 does, and that's why I ask for your vote on Amendment 130. And finally, I'm doing this for my best friend. Last week, her son was diagnosed with autism. Her insurance company said, we can't provide you the service what he needs because he is 18 months old. And if you have autism, the best time to get therapy is 18 to 24 months. Our insurance said, we will not provide the services he needs in his own daycare. She was told to use FMLA. She's a school teacher. She makes less than $50,000 a year. Tonight, she is making the decision to quit her job and go into poverty or not get her 18 to 24-month-old the services he needs to be a successful human being. My best friend tonight is making that decision, and that's not fair. And we have decided math is too hard. And we are saying we are going to do the math, and we're going to come back next year, and we are not going to say this is too hard.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, what my colleague has described, it is a fact. It's a fact that everyone at some point needs some extended leave for a family event or for a life event, whether it is planned or unplanned. And usually it's life, and it comes at an unexpected time. When we have employees in this state that are forced to work while experiencing a common life event, it casts a shadow across many parts of our economy. Loss of productivity, loss of increased health problems, poor financial, it just snowballs when these types of events occur. And they do occur. They may not occur to you, but they're occurring to people out there in this state. The 88% who do not have paid family medical leave. It is a lose-lose for the people of Colorado and for everyone involved. When I joined this quest with my colleague who's been working on this for 4 years, I said, we have to go out. We've got to walk into small businesses. We have to understand the impacts. We have to understand how do we support them? How do we not put barriers in place, but how do they take care of their employees? And when you're a small business, when one person is gone, it affects your operation and your bottom line. And so my colleague and I, we went out. We started last summer, and we started visiting businesses, one after the other, taking pages and pages and pages of their concerns, how this might affect their businesses, and the majority of them said how paid family leave would help their businesses. And that's what we took into consideration in this policy. And so here we are today. We've met, and we've met, and we've met to hear all the voices, to hear the individuals that are affected, to hear the input of small businesses, to listen to those low-income earners, to listen to business organizations with almost 40 amendments. But we also want a program that is going to work for all. And our work is not in vain. The work that we've done on a very, very complex policy has given us a learning. We've listened to everyone. We want a program that is going to work for all Coloradans. And L130 will help us do that with the implementation. We're going to do our homework up front. We've heard, how's the program going to work? Who's going to administer it? Is it going to be solvent? How does it work with my current plan I have? And the list goes on and on. I shared with you over 37 amendments that we have put in this policy. And so we've heard you, we've listened. We are here to do what is smart for the people of Colorado, and we want good policy. And we believe that's what L130 would do, and we'd ask you for an aye vote on L130.
Is there further discussion on Amendment L130? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L130. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Amendment L130 is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Carpenter, will you please read Amendment L131?
Amendment L131, Senate Bill 188 by Senators.
Senator Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move L131.
To the amendment, Senator Rankin.
This is an amendment. Thank you very much to the sponsors for working with us on this amendment. We feel it was really important to bring together a common understanding of what L130 is actually doing, because obviously it's good to really intensely study this so that we all have good data and the right, agreed on data to work with as we consider this very important program. So what we found in going through what 130 was that there was a very detailed timeline. And that timeline went from the study through actual implementation. So what this amendment does is essentially break the timeline into two segments. The first segment that goes up through January of next year is the study that give us the data to work with. And that's still, the words are must in the document. But when you go past January of next year, we requested, after discussion, that those must be changed to a may, so that the legislature was not bound by the absolute timeline. And we also changed a phrase on the last page that actually says that the legislature is not bound by the exact timeline results of that study. So it gives some flexibility to all that data that we're going to get. And so we appreciate that as we look forward to this discussion next year.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleague. I appreciated working on this amendment with you. In order to do the groundwork to set up a program next year. We wanted to make it abundantly clear that this is in preparation for a bill to come next year, after we get the numbers, after we get the math, and that this is not mandating anything beyond next year, but we also, to get the accurate studies, we had to put the intentions of a timeline in, so we could have a good study that shows how it would be implemented, and this meets both those needs, and I ask for a yes vote on L131.
Is there further discussion on Amendment L131? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L131. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Carpenter, will you please read Amendment L133?
Amendment L133, just number 188 by
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L0133, and what this amendment does is actually just clarifies that it will indeed take a bill, that the commission or the task force could not do this without a bill. Thank you to the sponsors for working with us on this. I ask for your yes vote for 133.
Senator Winter.
This is simply a clarifying amendment, and we encourage a yes vote.
Is there further discussion on Amendment L133? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 188? Seeing none, the question before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 188. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Senate Bill 188 is, the ayes have it, and Senate Bill 188 is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over the balance of the second reading calendar to April 25th, 2019.
The motion before the body is to lay over the balance of the second reading calendar until tomorrow. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the balance of the calendar will be laid over at the request of the Majority Leader. Mr. Majority Leader. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The body will rise and report.
We'll do them tomorrow.
Senate will come back to order. Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had one bill under consideration. Mr. Carpenter, will you please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee begs lead reports that concerns the following tax bills being the second reading thereof makes the following recommendation on Senate Bill 180 as amended passed second reading or gross place calendar for the reading and final passage. Senate Bill 225, House Bill 1246, Senate Bill 007, House Bill 1227, Senate Bill 250, Senate Bill 243, House Bill 1192, House Bill 1210, later until 42519, retaining their place on the calendar.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is for the adoption of the committee whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 188 is amendment passed on second reading, order and gross and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 225, House Bill 1246, Senate Bill 7, House Bill 1227, Senate Bill 250, Senate Bill 243, House Bill 1192, House Bill 12:10, laid over until 4/25/2019, and retain their place on the calendar. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the balance of the calendar lay over until tomorrow, April 25th, 2019.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the balance of the calendar will be laid over until 4/25/2019. Announcements. Having Senator Lundin. Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. Anyone who has a bill up in finance tomorrow, please note, if you are the committee of reference, we will take testimony about the substance of the bill. If we are not the committee of reference, in other words, you've already been to another committee, the only testimony will have to do with the fiscal note. That goes for the sponsors, that goes for the witnesses, and that goes for the committee. Thank you.
Senator Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would like to remind our colleagues that we end this day as we began, hopefully, and that is in a moment gathered together in collegiality and wishing the Senate President a not President, but Secretary, a happy birthday. We know we sang. I'm just saying happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Judiciary Committee will meet tomorrow on adjournment. We're not quite done, so we're going to continue the fun.
Seeing no further announcements, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow, April 25th, 2019.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand in adjournment until 0900 on Thursday, April 25th, 2019.